And next up, we have the AlleyCat Collective and Eva Charbonnier.
Hello, my name is Eva Charbonnier and I created the AlleyCat Collective. Let me start the video for you guys. Sorry, were we not ready? Okay. Cool. Hi, my name is Eva Charbonnier and this is the AlleyCat Collective. So I am a student and I live off campus, so I take the train in every day. And when I do that, I see the same thing every day. And I realize that this can be changed. We can use art to make things less boring. I also knew that I couldn't be the only one to feel this way, and I knew there was other artists who wanted to put art in the public eye, and that's how I got to the AlleyCat Collective. So there's two ways that we would go about getting artists commissions and artwork up. First way would be a guerrilla style installation type of way. We would find locations, tell the artist about the locations, and the artist would put their art up. The second way would be between business owners and the collective who distributes it to artists. So the business or landowner would contact the collective with an interested project location. We would find an artist with affiliated interest and pair them up and have the artist complete the work. We would let artists keep the commission money that they got from the artwork that we found for them, but we would want them to continue making the guerrilla style projects for us in return. Our goal would be to have people post pictures with the art that they're seeing and recognize the AlleyCat logo as an indicator of a public art installation that they should interact with. That's the AlleyCat Collective. Thank you. All right, so who is the AlleyCat Collective for? It's for artists who want to increase the amount of art seen in public. It's for business and landowners who want to put art on their land or business. And it's for the public who want to see art more when they're outside. The unique value that we bring is that it's artist to artist. So since it's artist run, we're always going to have the artist's best intentions in mind. And we're going to pair the interests between the artists and people who are interested in having the art on their property. Collaborators, I would consider anyone to be a collaborator, honestly, but people who are interested in donating their space for art and the artists who are willing to put their art there. The context would be kind of sad. It's Boston's history with taking down public art, but it's not just Boston, it's the US as a whole, and I think that adds another unique value to the AlleyCat Collective, which would be not only a group that wants to add art, but also protect it. Okay, so we would have two kinds of artist outreach. The first would be guerrilla installations. So we would find the locations for artists. They would go and put up their installations, both permanent and pop-up, but I would want it to be mostly temporary in case they do get taken down or we get in trouble. And I would want the AlleyCat motif that you're seeing to be consistent as a marker of a place where art can go up and remain. So I was hoping through popularizing the guerrilla installations that we could get to commissioned artwork for our artists. So that would mean having businesses come and seek out artists that are within the collective because of the work that the collective has already done. Okay, so I included milestones for the project. The first and second would be ones that we could complete even this weekend if we wanted to, getting our first member and the first piece up. The second and the third and fourth, my bad, would be more difficult. That would be a mention online, and then I said a selfie, but I would count like a personalized post with someone's story added as like that step. And then the last one would be our first commission. I'm not expecting that one to be this weekend, but that would be a marker that we made it to our finalized version of the collective. So here is a mock example of the copycat guide I would give out to artists so they could copy our logo. I also wanted to have artists have the option of printing out a cutout version so that they could use it in their own projects, like a cardboard cutout or something that they could use for spray paint. So this is an example of the cat in an alley in Cambridge. This is actually continuous work that's in Cambridge. You probably have heard of it. It's pretty famous, but I wanted to continue the idea of having continuous works and copy that idea that we found in Cambridge with the artists in the collective by allowing them to work with each other just at different times like they do in this alley. And this is an example of a temporary art installation. That's a projection of the cat onto the George Washington statue in the public garden. So that one is an example of a pop-up installation. So yeah, that's the AlleyCat Collective. An example, well, not an example, a marker of success for me would to see artists banding together, creating art, but also to see less blank spaces in the areas around me. And if you see this cat next time you're out, it wasn't me, but you know who put it up there. Thank you.
Thank you, Eva. Michael, I'm going to call on you first. Bamathy, you know you're going next.
Yes.
Where's Michael?
Michael? Bamathy.
Nice.
Nice. I was going to gather my thoughts. Thanks, guys. I love this because I love public art. Eva, I love also the AlleyCat projected on. Oh my God, awesome, awesome as pop-up. I want to see that right now. I want to go out, walk in the garden and see that in 2 minutes. Great idea. And obviously there have been tons of really good public art collectives. If you have done any research, which I'm sure you have, you know those exist, and they're varying degrees of effectiveness, but they're always fascinating to see how they grow and evolve. I would say that your project is beautifully conceived. I would love to hear more, and I'm sure this is sort of buried in your project, but I'd love you to foreground it more. Building community participation into it, not just the business owners who own the property. You talk about blank spaces, but I want to tell you the honest truth. As the owner of a blank space that's gotten graffitied a lot in downtown Boston, it does sort of piss me off sometimes when people tag it and they're like, oh, this is art. And I'm like, you know, art's in the beholder's eye, right? But you're not fucking Banksy, pardon my language, right? So my point is always coming back to that community participation, and you're right that cities have taken down art, but often it's because it's cropped up in places where people are like, there are reasons, either there are reasons that we didn't want art to go there, or maybe the violation of that space was part of the project. But that not only needs to be known, but that sort of needs to be, if that's going to happen, there are repercussions that might happen from that. And you might think about that. I talked very briefly when I came to talk to your class about the 5 Points case, but painting on private property, even if it's beautiful art, is a different act, right? Also, and this is just putting my layer hat on for 1 second, let's recall that there are really important questions about who owns that art and what can be done with it. So even if somebody spray paints an absolutely gorgeous piece of freehand graffiti on a fence, if that fence is a temporary fence and it's going to get taken down, if the artist says, I own that piece, I still want it, and I want that fence, that's got to be hashed out, right? So you do need to have a lawyer at the beginning to talk about clearing that ownership of rights. That's really important, really important. The Visual Rights Act, the VARA, is a very unique act, and it's an important one because it includes things like attribution and credit and integrity of the work and stuff that you don't see in other areas of IP law. So that's really important. But I think the best way to sort of preempt some of those concerns or allay them from the get-go is to really talk in your project, not just about the community of artists you want to empower and the business people who you want to have signing on to this and the people who own the blank spaces saying, yes, fill these blank spaces with your gorgeous art, but also what community are you serving? Are you doing a piece of artwork in Roxbury or are you doing a piece of work in Beacon Hill? Those might be different audiences, not just who's looking at it, but who feels represented by it. It's true that anybody can be an artist, artists can speak for all of us, but it's also true that some people feel that some art speaks more for them and about them. And you may want to think about that because art is deeply personal within communities, not just individuals too, right? Especially public art where we all feel that it speaks to us and for us. I think that social messaging is a big part of what you're doing just perforce, right? Just by the nature of what you're doing. So I would just, you're a very sensitive person. I know that that will resonate with you and that you can think through those issues. And I know it'll be something you care about just because I know Emerson students care about inclusivity and speaking people's voices, right? So just foreground that. I'd love to hear it. I think it'll make your story even more compelling than it already is. And it's already super compelling. So thanks.
Thank you, thank you. My hope was that, like, having a community of artists, we would be able to figure out the issues of being represented within the, like, ourselves, because, sorry, what?
Well, yes, you will represent the artists, but who are you speaking to? Because artists don't always represent the people they're speaking to. Sorry, I don't want to keep you going, but just...
No, you're just muted when I'm talking, like I can't hear you. But yeah, I was hoping we could figure it out like internally and maybe do like polling, because I also feel like the art that's put up by Boston now is trying to represent people, but what I've seen growing up here hasn't been. So yeah, I agree with you. And I will take that into consideration. Also, you should be my lawyer for this.
I think she's just volunteered.
Oh.
And
yes.
I'm sorry for the corny pun, but it's right up her alley. Sorry.
Oh my God.
I'm sorry.
We'll discuss fees, Eva, after this. Okay.
Luann, Sanjay, do you have something you want to add to that?
Bomity's covered it very thoroughly as usual, but a couple of things that came to mind coming sort of under the umbrella of the pandemic that seems to be challenging us more and more in different ways. There are some businesses, I believe, that are trying to reboot and reset. And so maybe some, building owners, restaurant owners, and this isn't just limited to Boston. So they might be a vehicle for you. They're trying to get attention, get people to come back to the restaurant, right? So whether that's for pickup or whatever. So they have space that they own. So I know you want this to be a guerrilla movement, which I don't really like the word guerrilla, but, an iterative kind of movement. So maybe there's a pivot to, presenting this artwork as a way for businesses to pay the artists in a way to get their message out there. I also want to bring to your attention, which you probably already know, the mayor's office. If you go to boston.gov, there is a team that's working on public art installations around the city. So they might be good partners to talk to, or at least, get some advice about at least what the restrictions are at the moment. But I love the idea. I think it's very creative, and I love public art. I mean, it really attracts attention in a good way.
Thank you.
Okay, I think
Eva, thank you. She's come a long way.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, another amazing case of someone who really has switched her idea so many times to get to this point of really standing behind something she really feels passionate about.
And we share her passion.
Absolutely.